Hey, travelers, coming to you from a very rainy Memorial Day here in Maine to go ahead and talk more keys from the Golden Vault. And something that I didn't say at the top of the last episode on this, I want to make sure I say now, these episodes are not spoiler free. We're going to be talking a lot about kind of the connective tissue and the things that make up these missions. So if you're planning on running these missions, just be aware of that heading in here. That we're going to be talking a lot about kind of the integral pieces of here. But I wanted to get right in and start talking about what is going to be mission number 2 from Keys from the Golden Vault, the Stygian Gambit. So this first point is going to have a little bit of preamble to it. Anybody that listens to the show probably knows that I did both my bachelor's and my master's degree in music, specifically musicology and composition. So I'm used to writing really, really long-winded papers about all varieties of classical art music. And in particular, what I dealt with was contemporary music, basically music since 1900. But I also did a lot of work on sort of late romantic music. So like Shostakovich, Mahler, and Beethoven in particular. I took an entire seminar course on late Beethoven, and the paper that I wrote for that class was a paper breaking down his last piano sonata. And one of the key points that I made of talking about the late piano sonata was how influenced it was from all of the music that he was writing at the same time as that piano sonata, and on really early minute sketches that he had written from when he was basically a student, right? This mission, the first thing that kind of came to mind when I was reading through this mission was how similar the structure of the Stygian Gambit is to kind of the core casino mission in the Planescape book. I think that there is a pretty compelling case to be made that they wrote this mission, either really liked it, or even kind of used it as a playground, if you will, to kind of work out some things that they were working on in that Planescape book. And let's just be upfront and say, Keys from the Golden Vault came out in February, Planescape came out in October, so only 6 or 7 months later. I'd be willing to bet that there's a pretty compelling argument to go ahead and say that whoever was kind of responsible for the principal swath of writing for this mission was probably working on or involved with the Planescape book. That doesn't mean anything about the quality one way or the other, but that is to go ahead and say that if you're running this mission, I think you're going to find a lot of similarity between those two things. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more later about the Planescape mission and how that kind of led that whole adventure path down the wrong path. And you're not going to see that here with the Stygian Gambit. Even somebody commented earlier when I was talking about breaking this down, how much fun this mission is. And I think that as a part of a whole, I agree. I think that this mission sounds like an awful lot of fun. There's a lot of really neat things in here. And kind of the very first thing is how heavily it leans into that sort of leverage trope, the honorable thief trope. Here you are trying to go ahead and rectify a mistake. Client A was basically screwed over by client B, and they want revenge, and they want to go ahead and get back what's theirs, and it really kind of leans into that. And so one of the things that I kind of thought about was, from kind of a homebrewing point of view, if I was going to use this, what if the entire setup of this is really a trap? Is not what Verity Key kind of lays it out to be. Because even if you think about the name, like if they were going to go ahead and come up with a fake name to give to adventurers, to try to convince them that they were really the one that is truthful and the key to what's going on, what better name to use than Verity Key? Verity, of course, from the Latin word for truth, right? So, just kind of an observation that if I was going to go ahead and take this, something else, I think that I would name a particularly dishonorable NPC Verity Key to go ahead and lay that out. Now, that being said, the other kind of main NPC in this mission, Quentin Togglepocket, is a fabulous villain. I mean, just an amazing character to go ahead and put in here. He's kind of like the mustache twirling sort of train baron that you want in sort of that level of not comedic mission maybe, but certainly something with a little bit of lightness and a easy foe that you can kind of point your finger at and say, oh yeah, no, there's the bad guy, right? And I think that in particular, the section in this chapter about how to roleplay Quentin is a fabulous addition. And Wizards of the Coast should be doing more of this. All game players, all game masters, and all game designers should be doing more of this. So glad to go ahead and see it here. Some other things that I thought about the casino itself that I thought could be helpful one way or the other, and is about the Stygian baths themselves. So part of the casino is this whole like spa section, and I thought that while that's really neat from kind of a flavor point of view, I was disappointed that there really wasn't anything mechanical, good or ill, that you could get from using the Stygian baths. If we want our players to use them, we need to dangle a carrot, even if it's secretly a stick on the other side, right? So, I think that, especially given the fact that the casino has like this demonic influence to it, I thought that there could be sort of a mechanical benefit, mechanical cost sort of thing. Does it mimic a short rest, but anybody that uses, detect demon or something like that, you show that you're under, maybe you're confused for a tiefling. Like, who knows? So whatever, right? But I think that they could have put some more thought into actually making those not just kind of interesting little spot, but actually something that the players would want to go ahead and do. I think the other kind of missed opportunity here was that the tournament that is running there would have been a perfect place to lay out the rival party that the players are going against and kind of continue to contend with in every other mission. Now, the rival party isn't really ever defined. They may have some like potential characters that are in the introduction, but the fact that those characters, that you have this tournament going on and the characters aren't there, that's kind of a lost opportunity. So, I think again that if you're going to be modifying this mission, that's definitely something to think about. Introducing a rival party and then putting them at the table and having them be distracted, or have them watch the players, gives you the perfect opportunity to put them in the space where they can then kind of foil what the players are doing. I think the last kind of point about the mission itself is that really the conclusion needs a little bit more sauce. The conclusion options were, I didn't think, particularly strong. Now, that doesn't really affect its homebrew ability necessarily, because again, you're going to be taking this on and rolling this mission into something else, but it's something to think about, that if this is truly meant to be a standalone, you're going to want to really think about the conclusion to go ahead and make sure that it's satisfying to the players on the other side. So let's go ahead and see how the numbers lined up here. So again, we're going to use the same kind of scoring rubric that we did last time, where we're going to talk about the portability of the mission itself, portability of the NPCs, portability of the map and location, portability of the Golden Vault hook itself, and then kind of a wildcard category about any of the other stuff that's not kind of in those four categories. It's going to give us a total. Each of those categories are graded 1 to 4, gives us a total out of 20. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the mission itself. The mission came as a 2, and that's because, not because of the quality of the mission, but because of the homebrew ability of the mission, right? The mission itself as a capsule stands along really well. The mission, if you want to go ahead and put it into a larger campaign, it needs some sauce. It needs some stuff. It needs stuff coming in and it needs stuff going out. And there's not an awful lot of kind of playroom within the mission to go ahead and introduce things that would have any import. I think the one exception there would be the potential rival faction that is at the tournament tables. But again, that basically made it a 2 in my mind. For NPCs, I gave it a 3. And that's because of just how strong both Verity Key and Quentin Toggle Pocket are. Again, if you need a mustache-twirling robber baron, Quentin Toggle Pocket is your man. Absolutely. Lift him, grab him, use him. Everything's fantastic. Talk about the map itself. If you do need a casino-style map, this is fantastic. It's really good. It has a lot of interesting, neat things, including, like, there's like a whole circus there, and there's a restaurant, and there are the spas that we talked about earlier. So really useful as a location if you need a casino. Whether or not a casino is particularly pigeonholed or something like that, that's maybe up for debate, but I thought that the map itself was really strong. In terms of the vault hook itself, I really didn't think that the vault hook was very compelling. Again, it kind of sets up this like leverage style, like honorable thieves kind of thing, but that's kind of the premise of the entire book. The Golden Vault prompt itself really didn't bring anything any more interesting than that to this, so I gave it a 2 out of 4. And lastly, the wild card, I also gave it a 3. There's some really interesting pieces that you can go ahead and lift. So again, I thought about like the kind of the individual pieces of the casino, like again, if you needed a restaurant, if you need a secret area, if you need spa, if you anything like that, even kind of like the travel to and from the casino, where you have to go ahead and like park your carriage at a dock, and then you're kind of carted across this river that goes, and then with the waterfall in the back and everything like that, it really makes for some really interesting thought about how to go ahead and design a map which is intended to isolate you from everything else around. So I think that there are some really interesting things that you can go ahead and play on with all of that. And if we add those all up, then what our rating is for this one from a homebrew ability point of view is a 13 out of 20. So a little bit lower than the Merc Manor Malevolence, but, still good. And I think really kind of the best parts of it here, again, are going to be the NPCs and the map themselves. I think that's really where you're going to shine if you try to go ahead and use this in your campaigns. So I want to hear your thoughts down below. What did you think? Were you like the other listener there that really enjoyed playing through this mission? And do you think that it ports well to your table and to your campaigns? Love to go ahead and hear what you think.